Council agenda session for April 9th. Have a motion on the minutes? All right. All in favor say aye. Opposed is nay. Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Clerk. We have ordinances final read. It looks like just one. Councilwoman Burrs, are we good with this? Do we need to read it again? We're good? All right. Thank you, ma'am. Ordinances first read. These are planning items. This first one, anyways, I think is the only one. Councilman Ledford, this went over last week. Are there any further questions on this item? Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, before we start our agenda session, I wanted to say thank you for your service as chairman this year.
Oh, thank you, sir.
I believe this will be your last agenda as chairman.
That's
session.
my intention.
That's your intention. I think I heard some applause somewhere in the city, but I wanted to personally, and I know the rest of the council joins me, thank you for your leadership and your service. And I'll probably be saying the same thing at 6 o'clock, sir.
Thank you, sir. I very much appreciate it.
And yes, our items in planning and zoning were covered last week. I think we have everything buttoned up.
Excellent. There's no need to read through all these again?
No, sir. We're good.
Okay. Takes us over to Public Works and Transportation. Clerk was kind enough to remind me that we have read these already, so there is no reason to read them again unless anybody just feels the need to read these. She is. All right. Madam Clerk, let's go ahead and read B, please.
An ordinance amending Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 4, Article 2, Rules, Regulations, Criteria, Standards, Section 441, Rules Adopted, and Chapter 20, Article 2, Health Nuances by adding Section 2029 through 2032 relating to noxious odor and nuances.
All right, thank you, ma'am. This is an item that we've had on the agenda for a couple weeks. It did get deferred for 2 weeks, and there have been some additional changes that we discussed at 1:30. There was a new version put out for the council, and we discussed that again at 1:30. There were some additional comments given at that time as well. So at this time, because some of the changes that were made really had to do with leaving it where it originally existed in Chapter 4, Article 2 of our current city code, and just updating some definitions and putting some points of clarification in there. I would like to offer the opportunity, we have been contacted by some attorneys that represent clients that believe they'll clearly be impacted by this, and I would like to offer them an opportunity if they'd like to make a few comments. Sir? If you would, give us your name. And
my name is Tim Gibbons. I'm an attorney with Chambliss, Bonner, and Stoffel, and I'm here on behalf of Pilgrim's Pride. First of all, I would like to thank Chairman Smith, who has spoken with both sets of council multiple times, and so we've appreciated that opportunity. Pilgrim's Pride would certainly welcome the opportunity to discuss maybe a couple of other tweaks that we could make to the ordinance. I think it's come a long way, and we certainly appreciate that. Pilgrim's Pride certainly believes the collaborative effort that we've seen the last couple of weeks is very constructive and helpful. I would point out, if I may, that Pilgrim's Pride's 2 facilities downtown both have approved odor control plans. One approved as of November of last year and another approved as of January of this year. Each of those facilities also has an approved certificate of operation from the Chattanooga-Hamilton County Air Pollution Control Bureau, and those are valid through, I think, February of 2022. And the other thing I would point out is, of course, there have been changes in the city around the Pilgrim's Pride facility, and in response to one of those, the building of the apartment building on West 17th Street, Pilgrim's Pride spent about $1.5 million modifying the dock that's immediately across West 17th Street from that new apartment building to accommodate that new neighbor. And so And Pilgrim's Pride is also considering further enhancements and improvements to their property and believes that those sorts of improvements are best discussed with city officials and moving forward. So I guess in sum, we'd like the opportunity to make maybe some very minor changes that we discussed this afternoon to the ordinance, and would just hope that we could get something that could be a win-win for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gibbons, and let me say I appreciate your willingness and candor in meeting as well. I appreciate everything that your client and Cooks as well have done for this community and continue to do. And based on the permits that you have signed with the Air Pollution Control Board, let me also say that as long as you are in compliance with those permits, I don't expect to ever have to read this ordinance again. So I do appreciate that, and I look forward to, regardless of what takes place, I would like to continue the conversation. I think it's been one for years that maybe we should have had a better partnership on to make sure that, you know, not only are other concerns addressed, but also, you know, what else we can do to be better partners from our end with companies such as yours as well.
Thank you
So,
very much.
Thank you, Mr.
We
Gibbons.
appreciate that.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Councilman Ledford, did you have a comment, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman. Also discussed at 1:30, I had a question about Rule 12.4 and just wanted to put on the record in regards to animals or fowl kept within the city, that those health conditions and sanitary conditions for the animals also did apply and crossed over into A1.
Yes, sir.
Which is something in my district we've had a little bit of issue with, so I appreciate the work done on that. Can you tell me if our intent was for the last sentence of 12.4, are we eliminating that before tonight's?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I just want to go on the record saying that I really like that, but if that's the way it is, that is definitely covered in our noise ordinance elsewhere in the code.
I believe so, and I will confirm that and let you know. If not, we can add the language.
I would feel a lot better. The last part of my question, Chairman, is before 6 o'clock, are we going to be versed on any kind of tweaks or language that we will be able to digest and make a
I'm glad you asked.
decision?
Let me verse you in a few of the changes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chairman.
One was the removal of the sentence you mentioned, because the sentence specifically had to do with noise, which is really outside of the scope of this ordinance. And it is covered, I believe, based on the city attorney's reference, it is covered in our noise ordinance, so no need to muddy the water in another section.
Right.
The other item is there was a concern, and I agree about some language about fewer than 20. The sample size must be 25, or at least 25, or when fewer than 25 is exposed. The language now states at least 8 persons believe it to be objectionable, which coincides with the 1/3 of sample persons in the previous language. So that, it just keeps it consistent in that paragraph.
25 to 8.
Yes, well, with 8 being, if there's less than 25, 8 being the minimum.
Roger.
Yes, sir. So it keeps it consistent with that 1/3.
Okay.
And there was one other tweak, a word, which was in 12.2, we do use the word offensive, and in 12.3, the word is objectionable, and I'm just gonna ask that offensive be used throughout, and we don't add any additional language that is so we're consistent throughout. And I do believe, sir, that is it.
Very good. Chairman, I appreciate the clarification, and I appreciate both councils representing their constituent, or their participants and being active in this situation. I think we'll have a better product or better result out of this, and I appreciate your leadership on this.
I agree, and thank you, sir. And do we have comment? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Wayne
Absolutely.
Crop, Baker Donaldson. Just want to call to your attention, I think maybe there was one more. We talked about a permit with regard to wastewater discharges and being consistent with that.
Yes, sir, that was not on this copy in front of me. I'd already handed that off. Thank you so much for reminding me on that. My apologies. That was on my other copy. The other item in 12.4, there is language, and this relates to how the federal government also regulates contaminations into a metro wastewater system. And we have language that states any such accumulation or contamination is hereby declared a public nuisance. I'm having that language updated to any such accumulation or contamination that is not in accordance with any valid issued permit is hereby declared a public nuisance. Again, these are businesses that are managed by permit, and this is not intended to oversee that in any way, or not to succeed. I just lost the word for that, sorry, Phil. Supersede that in any way, just to also keep in line with that. So that is the other language that
And this
that
falls
was
in
discussed.
line with comments made a couple weeks ago, I believe I made regarding the permits.
The permit, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate the question. Councilman Oglesby, I see your light, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Gibbons mentioned that you made a recommendation on a small tweak, I believe you said.
Those were actually the tweaks that have just been discussed before the council now.
Okay.
And so those are the ones that Pilgrim's Pride would certainly endorse as being useful in this ordinance.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Vice Chair.
Yeah. All right, seeing no further lights, we were on first reads, sorry, items that had already been covered. That was under Public Works. We have Transportation. Again, these were all read last week and are handled in committee. See no lights on those. Madam Clerk, let's move on down to resolutions, please. Item A.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Economic and Community Development to enter into a professional services agreement with VDZA Consulting, Inc. for a skate park feasibility study for an amount not to exceed $73,789.
All right, no lights. Next, please.
A resolution authorizing the city treasurer to renew purchase order number 526211 to Harris Computer System for a one-year renewal period for the purpose of billing and collections of property tax in the amount of $116,500.65.
C, please.
A resolution amending resolution number 29546 to reflect the name change of Tidwell, Isle and Richardson to Tidwell and Associates, and hereby authorize the office of the city attorney to continue to engage said firm for legal services and general litigation matters.
All right, D, please.
A resolution authorizing the Director of the Office of Multicultural Affairs to release the second payment of the approved contract funds to Collab for Kiva for fiscal year 2019, in the amount of $43,000.
All right, thank you, ma'am. That takes us to Public Works and Transportation items. There are 3 here. These were also handled in committee last week. Are there any questions this week where we need to cover these again? Councilman Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and it's, we talked about it last week. I didn't ask a lot of questions, but under other business, just, it's a notification, that the employees are receiving some gratuities. Justin, can you talk about the, I guess what we're hoping to learn about the new technology that's available?
Yes, sir. So there's a contingency from our wastewater treatment plant of engineers and operators who will travel to Europe to see some new technology that is a thermal hydrosis process to create a Class A biosolids product. Currently, the city produces a Class B biosolids product that has to be land applied for agricultural uses. Class A biosolids can be used as a natural fertilizer, more broadly applied, and that would be certified by the USDA. Currently, our product is certified by USDA and is regulated by TDEC and the EPA under all of those requirements for a Class B biosolid product. but they can't be used as fertilizer, as a general purpose fertilizer. The Class A biosolids are expensive, have historically been very expensive to create. There is a new process that is successfully installed in 3 locations in Europe. There's one site that one of these companies has constructed in Washington, D.C. However, the site is not working very well. Our group does intend to visit that site as well and talk about why that development isn't functioning appropriately. This is approximately a $70 to $80 million project, and we feel like it's valuable for our staff to investigate as much as they can with some engineering consulting firms. But this just isn't widely applied in the United States yet because it's a new technology that's first been launched in Europe.
Is this something that we could, I guess, make modifications to our plant relatively easily to manufacture the Class A?
To the tune of about $70 to $80 million. I don't know the ease of construction that I could relate that to, but we do have, in our master plan, we have sites at the treatment facility where that type of expansion can be either modified at existing facilities or expanded to other regions of the plant.
How do you see that benefiting us?
Well, currently we spend about $2 to $2.5 million a year transporting and land applying and testing Class B biosolids. So we would hopefully forego or be able to reduce the operating costs, the cost for just transporting and land applying those biosolids. It runs us at $2.5 million per year. There was, I think last week or on this week, our contract is up for renewal with Denali Water Resources, or Denali Solutions Incorporated, and they are our provider for that service. So we would hope to reduce the operating maintenance cost of land applying biosolids, and we still have to treat the biosolids and to get it to a Class B. In a Class A form, we would hope to sell that type of fertilizer. So there is potential revenue stream, and all of that would be in a feasibility study of whether or not that is a viable solution for our plant in our region.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hold on just one moment. Councilman Gilbert.
Justin, I know when I first came on board in 2018, around that area, we did buy A and B equipment. Will we be able to use the equipment we currently have for this new technology?
We bought, can you say the type of equipment that we purchased?
Not offhand. I just know that we have many discussions with Deborah Scott, with Lee Lawrence about the A and B process that we was processing. Remember that?
Well, currently we have 2 methods that we create a Class B biosolid from. It has to be dried, cured. There's several different stages that the biosolids go through to get it to a place where it is in a form that we can land apply it. So if we move to this new technology, which is potentially 5 to 8 years down the road in planning, so we would budget, plan, conduct feasibility study. So I think we're a couple of years out from actually installing something, but this is the absolute newest technology that seems to work to create the most efficient Class A biosolid. But to your point, I think you're saying that we do currently have equipment that creates a Class B biosolid at the treatment plant, and this new technology would replace that.
So we don't have Class A equipment now?
We do not produce a Class A biosolid, and I don't believe that it's efficient for us to try to accomplish that with the equipment that we have.
Okay, I was curious because I know we had an ongoing discussion with Deborah Scott about A and B. We had equipment, we never did produce it, but we had the equipment purchased for to do it. So you're saying we never did purchase that equipment at all?
I'll have to go back and recover some of those conversations as to whether or not we've said that we can or could. We don't currently.
Okay. Can you let me know? 'Cause we had a long discussion about that years ago.
I will try to find some folks who are still
what-
here, or here at that time in leadership positions to recount those conversations. I will try to find out if we can.
I can tell you an expert on it. Call Deborah Scott. She can give a whole book on it about that situation. I think you remember you back in them days too. You
I
remember?
think I will research with staff first and see what we can come up with, sir.
Okay. Well, it won't hurt to ask her too.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Ledford.
Thank you. I have her number if you want to. Okay, no. Justin, you mentioned Class B and Class A, the Class A that we could possibly sell. Are we selling the Class B currently?
We don't. We currently,
Where does it go?
so it goes to, I think we've distributed Class B biosolids to over 10 counties. We look for farmers who are interested in land applying Class B biosolids, and those can be used for feedstock for agricultural purposes, can't be used for, we sell that to everyone from a worm farmer in Grundy County to folks who make feed for cattle, and it's in, I think, about 10 different counties regionally, and we transport to several different counties. The farmers really like it. It saves them a tremendous amount of cost on fertilizer for feedstocks. So it's a marketable product, but we are limited in the amount of biosolids that we can land apply in any one county and one per acre biosolid. And we're regulated by TDEC and Georgia's environmental agencies to what we can land apply per acre in a certain time frame. So we have a cycle in which we try to reach out to those farmers.
Gotcha. So our Class B now is something that we just have to find a way to get rid of.
That's correct.
So we're paying to ship it, we're paying to distribute it. The Class A, what method of application does it use? If we were able to produce a Class A?
It's a general
Biosolid.
purpose fertilizer, is my understanding, can be used for a broader application, and is actually a much more marketable product and has a
So they
higher
might actually
value.
come to us and buy it off our shelf, so to speak?
Potentially, and that would be part of our feasibility study. This is just a first step to see if this is something that would fit in our site and if it's something that we want to explore further.
Great. My last question, my last is just a comment, and I appreciate y'all leading the way and trying to figure out innovative ways to do better. I mean, bravo. So,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you, Chairman.
Nothing further. Thank you,
Thank you.
Justin. Any other questions with the items on agenda this afternoon? All right, this says department report none, but I do believe we have some people from HR that would like to talk to us this afternoon. So if they are ready, I would welcome them to come forward.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
All right, well, thanks so much for having us again today. One of the things I wanted to do with our update was to refocus us back on the strategic plan that was rolled out back in July of last year. So this presentation today is just to give you an update on some of the items that we have worked on from that, from our strategy. So just to revisit again, the strategy that we put together for the city of Chattanooga is focused on building competitive advantage through people, and this is really a people strategy. That is our largest capital when I think about assets for the city, and so we wanted to focus in this area for a couple different reasons. Well, one of those reasons is because we have a widening skill gap. Over the next 5 years or so, the city is postured to lose about 25% of our workforce. That 25% is for different reasons, whether it's retirement or people just leaving the city for other opportunities or what have you. However, today, based on everything that we know about our workforce regarding retirement, age, and others, we can lose 25% of our workforce. So when we start thinking about the huge talent gap that would present, not only for the city government, but also with the talent gap that already exists within other local communities today, that would make a big challenge for us. So we wanted to make sure that everything that we're doing moving forward is really getting us prepared for that talent gap, because we should have been working on it years ago. And we don't want to be caught behind the 8 ball trying to be reactive when we have some of the exits. So this strategy was put together focusing on 4 key themes or buckets. The areas of emphasis is around recruitment and retention, talent management, reward and recognition, and building a thriving and inclusive community. Under these 4 buckets, there were 10 goals that the department identified that would help move the city of Chattanooga forward. And so today, as I mentioned, we're going to focus on a couple of those. The first one being our talent management. So in the area of talent management, the goal for us was to be able to begin offering professional development for the employees that work here within the city. Our ability to be able to start skilling up our workforce, preparing us for the future, as well as preparing us for any changes that would come because of leadership change or changes in the economy or even changes in our workforce. We wanted to make sure that we were already focusing on that. And so one of the ways that we have begun that is what we have now coined the Chatwell Leadership Institute. This particular institute, we have begun the formation of it. It is a joint collaboration with other leaders across the city of Chattanooga. We have partnered with YFD, Drs. Bank and Drs. Terry Hernandez, who's within HR. They have come together and started putting their resources and skills together to create some curriculum for us that will cascade all the way from our executive leadership all the way through to our frontline leadership. And we wanted to start there because in order to make sure that we continue to be strong, that we have leaders and supervisors that are strong and able to lead the charge for us. So while that curriculum is underway, we will be launching a pilot this August for 2019, and I will come to you with more details about the pilot, but we want to launch that this year so that we could test and ensure that the model that we're building really fits the city of Chattanooga. In the area of building a thriving and inclusive community, our goal was to make sure that we have a culture here that is open, supportive of anyone who wants to come, and that their ideas and their voices are heard throughout. So one of the ways that we are demonstrating this is through our partnership with Orange Grove. Earlier this year, we reached out and had meetings with Orange Grove where we identified a structure for which we would bring clients or volunteers to the city. The focus being that we wanted to provide opportunities where clients from Orange Grove had the opportunity to gain job skills, be able to stretch in any area that they were capable of doing so, but likewise wanting to make sure that for the leaders and employees for the city government that we have exposure, because we all learn both ways when we're exposed to other people. So since that partnership, we have 13 volunteers that are placed throughout different departments here in Chattanooga. We have clients in the library, in fire, police, human resources of the training department, as well as in public works. Collectively, with those 13 volunteers, from January through March, they have already worked 226 volunteer hours here within city government, and they're continuing to thrive. Continuing on under the same goal, one of the other areas is ensuring that we have a diversity and inclusion education program. As a part of that, you all heard earlier this year from our GEAR members that we are partnering with, and we kicked off our first GEAR launch was on February 25th. Of course, we had the council presentations the next day on the 26th, and we had our first training for the administrators or department heads and their deputies on March 26th of this year. And so we are gearing up now to prepare for a core team, and that core team would be members representative of all departments, not just leadership. And we will be taking everyone through a training, developing action plans for how we would move forward for the city of Chattanooga. In the area of safety, I'm going to invite Mike Anthony to come up and talk with us about our safety performance.
Good afternoon. So, new to this fiscal year, we've started using an incident rate to track, to benchmark where we stand in terms of job injuries, comparing us to other cities, other organizations, and I'm very pleased with our trending downward. Our goal was to be below 7, and here we are. We just finished the third quarter at a 5.27, so we're moving in the right direction. That's a good sign that the things we're doing in terms of safety, the trainings and whatnot, are working. There we go. This slide represents a comparison of last year to this year. You'll see in one column it's the average reported injuries per quarter from 18 compared to 19, as well as the total reported injuries for each year for each quarter, as well as the average recordable injuries and total recordable injuries. Recordable injuries, again, are anything beyond first aid, and that's how we come up with our incident rate. So we take the number of recordable injuries times 200,000 and divide that by the number of labor hours, and that's how we ended up with a 5.27.
Now, one of the areas for, I will say, continuous improvement.
Sorry, just a minute. I'm so sorry. I missed the light here. This may be for Mike. Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Chairman. Couple quick questions for you, Mr. Anthony. Are the injuries seasonal? Do they fluctuate heavy based on this time of year?
They can, since our organization is very diverse in the jobs that they do. It depends on the department. So Public Works tends to have more summer injuries because they're out doing more, cutting more trees and grass and whatnot. Police and fire, it varies depending on the number of calls they go on, but we can't define a definite pattern in terms of that.
My second question is, you mentioned a decline in the incidents. Is there something specific? Is it a specific department? Is there something that you've put in, or
Sure.
Or is,
So,
we just doing a better job?
For the most part, safety is a proactive approach to things. We want to prevent the injuries from happening, and we may implement a new policy or try to engineer around a hazard. But sometimes there's a lag time in seeing those results come to fruition. So over the last, I guess, year, we've got someone dedicated to doing safety trainings.
Okay.
And I believe that has a large part of that. Year to date, we've completed trainings that we've trained 308 people year to date. Last year, for the entire year, we did 427. So we're projected to double, maybe even triple our numbers.
Okay, so we've increased our efforts personnel-wise,
Absolutely.
and we're seeing a good result.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
I've got a couple questions. Actually, I was looking this way. I didn't know we were off of the subject yet. On the slide prior to this?
Correct.
Okay. So our incidence rate's going down. You'd said that the goal was 7, and thank you, by the way, for being here today. I feel like every time that we talk about safety or HR, you're up here presenting good news, which is a wonderful thing to get. So I thank you for that. You want the goal was to have the incident rate below 7, which is we aren't, and we're trending even further down. Where do we stack up with other cities? We're always, there's certain areas that we like to compare ourselves to other cities, and sometimes in areas that directly relate to employees, we forget to really address that. So
Sure.
where do you see us relating to other cities in this topic?
So the Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS, says the average municipality is a 6.4 for an incident rate. But they lump all municipalities in together. So New York City and Podunk, Tennessee are all in the same category.
I've been there.
I have too. So that's hard to take a lot of stock in that, but when I started in this role in late 2014, early 2015, our incident rate was a 10.22. So a 7 was a substantial decline, and it was just something to reach for. Now that I see we're going below that, assuming the fourth quarter will end in that same category, then we can lower the goal and give us something new to strive for.
I gotcha. And to piggyback a little bit on Councilman Ledford's question as far as seasonality of incidents, but then to take it to one step further to your answer being obviously Public Works, summertime. Where have we seen like significant improvement? So we're seeing a drop here, 6.84 down to 5.27, where, you know, the number may not seem extreme, but when you think about percentages, that really is a really big drop. So that's a great thing. It could be partially seasonality, but where are we seeing the most improvements inside of individual departments?
You know, I hate comparing departments to each other, but I think the best way to answer that is, well, so we look at fire, police, and public works. We call them the big three in-house because they're the largest. They do inherently the most dangerous jobs. They have the highest severity when they do have injuries. I feel comfortable saying in the data that I've seen and the collaboration I've done with the battalion chief of safety in the fire department, I've seen the most change in the fire department. And I believe, although I'd love to take credit for that, there's too many variables to make that, but one that in particular that stands out is the leadership, their top-down approach. Chief Hyman is amazing, and he surrounded himself with a really great command staff, and then the battalion chiefs and all the way down to the entry-level firefighter, they've shifted their safety culture so that it's no longer an ego thing to not report an injury. It's okay to report an injury because even if you don't want treatment, we could be protecting your fellow firefighter. So I'm really pleased that they've turned that corner, and over time, we'll just see their numbers drop continually. So.
All right. Great. Thank you. I do see one other light. Just a moment. Councilman Gilbert.
Just quickly, the fire department, we provide 2 uniforms. Are we looking at that for a safety issue in the future as far as how it was 2 or 3 years ago when they didn't have it versus they do have it now?
You know, I hadn't considered that, but I certainly think we can look at that. Those 2 uniforms are provided to reduce the risk of the carcinogens and whatnot. Right. I think that's going to take a longer time to kind of examine that, but I'm glad that this council has moved to do that. It's just further protection and a commitment to show that we care about the employees.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
Nothing further. Thank you, sir.
Well, as we move towards closure, there was a couple things, or one thing that I wanted to share with the council about. Part of the goal for making sure that we're continuing to leverage all of the talent in the city and making sure that we're very efficient is making sure that we have good processes and systems for which we can leverage. And so one enhancement that will be coming soon for us is Time Clock Manager. And so why that is significant to this conversation is this. Over the last, I'll say 10 months that I have been here with the city, a lot of the issues or a lot of the process improvements that we get, HR gets notified about has to do with not necessarily having visibility to what's going on with employees or not sure when an employee, how much time they have away. And so we have a way now to put the tools in the supervisors and managers' hands so that they could be proactive and be able to engage with their employees more so. And so Time Clock Manager is a mobile app that will be coming soon to our leadership here. We are actually testing out, working with IT to test this out today. And the screenshot that you have there is just some of the information that will be at the fingertips of each and every supervisor and or manager. So as an example, when I start thinking about engagement, how great would it be if you're able to, on the spot, recognize someone for their anniversary because you see that come up on your screen, or know when they've requested time away and be able to make proactive decisions. And so this particular technology is just another tool to engage our employees, to ensure that we are being proactive, and likewise, to make sure that we're able to address concerns, ahead of time. And so I just wanted to share with the council that this is a technology that is coming soon. Again, we are testing it out. IT has been working very diligently with us. And so this will be coming out, I believe, within the next few months after we have purchased licenses.
Great. I see one light. Oh, 2. Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Chairman. Who has access to Mobile Manager again?
Well, right now, this has not been launched yet, but when it does, Yes, but when it does, it would be supervisors, department managers, people that have, managers that have access or have leadership for employees. And of course, as an example, if we have department managers that do not have direct reports, of course, from an oversight standpoint, they would be able to have access as well.
So when I'm looking at anniversaries, I'm thinking Justin's going to remind me to pick up flowers on the way home, or, I mean, what's
Work
The
anniversary.
their anniversary is service.
Work anniversary.
work
Yes.
anniversary?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, just, I
But
mean,
I'm sure Justin can do that as well now.
I mean,
You're thinking of the right thing.
it says anniversaries.
It's service anniversary, yes.
Kind of wondering if I could enter my own anniversaries. But keep me out of hot water, but, so anyway, that was one of my biggest questions, and on a serious note. This would be used for what? Give me an example of why this would be important for a supervisor to be able to pull up what I'm calling some personal information at the snap of a finger.
So today, as an example, when employees are needing to request time off, usually we'll hear PTO. The way the system is configured today, basically the supervisors, they don't have access to that. So if they're approving blindly, and that causes obviously concerns in the process. So we're wanting to be able to put a tool in their hands where the information, when the request is made, they have access to see it. They can go on in real time and approve it, or if they're needing to have further conversations about it, at least they have the information in front of them, and it's not after the fact that someone's trying to have that discussion.
Okay, that's good, because I was a little worried about that anniversary question and asking for time off, and you look at that and you go, oh, that's your anniversary, and so.
No, again, just more so, and these are examples of things that could be configured on that mobile app. Anniversaries is not one that necessarily has to come up, but when you think about engagement and wanting to make sure you know what's going on with your staff, this is a great engagement tool if you wanted to have their service dates or any other type of recognition items to keep in front of you. We would be able to do that.
And what's the anticipated cost for this?
Yes. Donna, could you help me out, please?
I have to ask sitting up here, what's it gonna cost?
Okay. She said she'll have to come back, but in
Too much to
conversation,
remember.
I thought that she said she'll come back. I'll find out, and I'll come back to council with the exact amount. But when we were looking at it, it was a very nominal fee because we already have the system in place.
Understood,
But
so
we'll
this
come
is
back.
kind of an add-on?
Yes. Well, I'm not sure if you would call it an
Plug-in,
add-on.
add-on.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
same- That's where I'm going
Exactly.
with that. Okay. I know I don't have Brent here to clarify my IT lingo, so, very good. Thank you, Beverly.
All right, thank you.
Chairman.
Councilwoman Burrs.
Thank you. I understand the reasoning for some of this. It smacks a little bit of Big Brotherism, and I'm trying to figure out why birthdays would be on there.
Well, from an engagement standpoint, now birthdays, again, these are just examples of the types of things that could be there. But I'll speak from the vantage point of my team. We all like to be recognized, and so considering birthdays or those special days, we wouldn't put, the year to highlight age, but just wanting to acknowledge that, it's a special day for someone, even if it's get a card or perhaps have a team gathering to wish the person happy birthday.
I think the idea is great. I think the idea is wonderful. I think I'd be very careful about the personal stuff and do you have my permission, or you just put it up there because I work for the company?
No, again, the information, we would go through a process of determining what would work best in terms of what we would put out there. But the information that you're seeing, the supervisors have access to that information today. They don't have the years in terms of how old someone is.
That's not, I hear you. I'm not hearing you.
Okay.
You're assuming that everybody wants to be recognized, and I'm sure they do. My point is, I can see for business reasons why you would want things here.
Okay.
Personal, I would think you'd want to have my permission. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Well, so to that point, what I would say, obviously, before we launch, we would collect some feedback. And we would think about, the most important things to make sure that we have the right tools for the supervisors and managers to do their job. And so if, for instance, if birthdays or service anniversaries is not something that is useful or makes sense for us, we wouldn't include it on there.
Okay. If you decide that it does make sense for you, for the corporation, can I opt out?
I would say on an individual basis, no. If we make a decision that these are I'll say the key factors that we would want to take a look at, we can't customize it down to the individual and remove an individual from there, because in doing so means that that individual wouldn't be in some of the other parameters as well. So it's either we do it as a whole for the city or we don't.
Okay, one more, Mr. Chair. So a suggestion would be, it's a computer. We can customize anything we want. I think if it's for business reasons, then that's absolutely appropriate. And this is just a sample. I think when it gets into personal stuff, an individual ought to have a right to say, don't include me in that part. I love y'all, but I don't want you singing happy birthday. I know that's a small thing, but I think business reasons, yes. And I don't know what else you're going to put on there, but you may want to think about that or
Okay.
check with legal counsel.
Okay.
Thank you.
So noted. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman Gilbert.
I'm kind of familiar with this program because we do it at my job as a corporate and private. But even dealing with the birthday situation, the supervisors have the option to say happy birthday to you personally and not nobody else. It's just a morale thing for some businesses. When it comes to the PTO time, it's a great opportunity. So a lot of times an employee will put in PTO and they want 2 weeks, but they got 2 days. So that supervisor will be able to see how many PTO times they actually have and have a conversation with the employee saying, well, sir or ma'am, you don't have that much right currently, and we kind of reevaluate this. You don't have 2 weeks. So it's a tool that gives this management to actually help the employee make good decisions. And it also keeps up with the payroll, because when I do mine, if someone is going over their time, if they've taken 1 minute over 7 minutes, it's showing me that I need to have a conversation with that employee, so that we'll save the city money for somebody taking 15 minutes every day. So it's got a lot of tools, a lot of opportunities to learn and to help the city itself and also the employee too. So I like the program. I know it's not the same as mine, it's not the same as yours, but it does the same thing.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilman. I see no further lights.
All right. Well, thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. If there is nothing else for today's regular agenda session, and seeing no further lights, I'll assume when there is not, we're going to move into Youth and Family Development Committee. Chairwoman Coonrod.
Can I get approval of the minutes? Thank you. Of course, it's that time again to have a report for the best committee it is. Youth and Family Development. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the council. Thank all of you for your service and the opportunity you give us to come and give you an update on how well our various divisions and programs are functioning to satisfy your interests. Today we have a special presentation by Joe Hunter, who oversees our teen empowerment initiative. That's been running for a little over a year, and he's been doing an outstanding job giving our teens around the city and our YFD centers special attention and opportunities to expand their wings and their interests. So, Joe, Uncle Joe, would you please come and give us an update on the successes you've experienced?
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, council persons. It's good to see all of you again. First, I'd like to thank the city for even allowing this program to happen and for Coach to allow me to be free to do the work that I do. Over the past year, we have been able to establish this program to the point that we're in 4 locations throughout the city. We're at Eastdale, we're at Westside, we're at Carver, and we're at East Chattanooga. We do have a mission, and our mission to assist youth in their growth and development to become productive citizens in our community. The vision is to see youth grow into productive citizens and be empowered to be smarter students and great community leaders. What we have discovered in doing this program and going to the locations where the young people already were, so we didn't have to go out and recruit. These young people were already attending these centers in most cases, and we began to start the evening programming with them. So our program happens each day from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at one of the different locations. Monday and Thursday, we're at Eastdale. Tuesday, we're at Westside. Wednesday, we're at Carver. And Friday, we're at East Chattanooga. With the help of the staff at each location, we've been able to really strategically touch at least 25 to 30 youth a day at each location. When we started, our goal was to help kids stay in school, help kids with their character development and discipline at home and in the community, and also help reduce any contact with juvenile court. Over the time that we have been involved in this program, we have been able to do that. We have young people that have graduated from high school. We have young people that have now moved into the workforce who were in the program. And we have young people who have brought their younger siblings to the program because the program starts at 13. So the 11 and 12-year-olds are like at the edge trying to get in, and their brothers and sisters bring them. We do have some outcomes on the young people that we've been working with for a year. And in the beginning, it was to engage 25 youth, male and female, at each center to participate in our program, have dinner with them each night, and then they're able to, we also use a word of the month. The word for this month is determination, and we teach the definition of the word and the principles of the word, and we encourage them to live that word out for the month. We now see 25 to 30 youth a night at each center. Based on our numbers, 95% of the students who attend have improved in their behavior at the center, at home, and at school. And we use, as an evaluation, the parents, the principals, the progress reports, the report cards, also the ones that did have some contact with juvenile court. We're also in contact with their probation officers, and we walk with them through their probation. 85% of our students who attended did not get suspended from school this year. So we see at least 100 kids, these same 100 kids, most of them stayed in school. 90% of our students did not have any contact with juvenile court, so that meant some did. And the ones who did, we continued keeping them in the program, and we also walk with them through their probation with the approval of juvenile court and their probation officers. So I can truly report that the program has executed what we sought out to do, which was to bring youth enrichment to Chattanooga, which was to do some gang intervention with the young people in Chattanooga without specifically calling it gang intervention. These are pictures of all 4 centers in action, and we had a Thanksgiving gathering where the mayor attended at Carver, and we had over 60 students there where we had a real Thanksgiving dinner. And the kids really enjoyed it. Some of them even came back and told me that was their Thanksgiving dinner that they were going to get for the year. And so we were able to provide that. During Black History Month, we had several videos of information into African American history. There's a video of 100 years of African American history, and it's narrated by several different African Americans. So the kids spent time with that, and we spent time teaching them on that and helping them to understand who they were and who they could be and the things that they could do. At the Thanksgiving dinner, this was our first one, so we did a evaluation of the program, because I do not take it upon myself or the staff to be the only ones that are dictating what's happening and how this program is working. It's a teen empowerment program. It's for the teens. They run it. And so I do have some evaluations that I had the kids fill out, and I brought along some of them because I would rather you hear from them than from me, because the program is for them. I already know the information, but the program has truly helped the young people, and they have shown it. This one says, what is teen empowerment? A program that helps teens like us to grow up and make smart choices and to make us feel like we are a part of something. What has it meant to you? It meant that people who choose to start things and programs cares about us. Have you learned anything? I've learned that we are a part of a community. Number 4, they threw that in. East Chat Center needs more activities. This one comes from Westside. What is Teen Empowerment? Teen Empowerment is a program from Uncle Joe to teach us about the world and is only taught to teenagers. What has it meant to you? It has meant a lot. His teachings, love, give me much hope and a better understanding in my passion. Have you learned? Yes, that we all have gone through some things, and I have learned that people that have my back to go through them things. This one, Teen Empowerment is a program for teens to realize how to live and be good boys and girls in this hard world. To me, Teen Empowerment helps me stay out of trouble in school and home and help me pick the right choices. I have learned respect and knowledge from Uncle Joe. The last one is from a staff, Ms. V at Westside. Ms. V is very caring, and some of you may know her, but showing compassion for others, to appreciate yourself as well as others, wisdom and knowledge, such a great program for teens. It is her most humble prayer that this is able to continue in the future. So that's from the resident citizens that have attended Teen Empowerment from the different various centers that we have it at. Teen Empowerment is strong and well. We have more kids coming now. We have parents involved. We have school teachers involved. Again, I'm thankful to be able to execute this program through the YFD, and looking forward to doing it again some more for the future.
Thank you, Uncle Joe, for this wonderful presentation. We have a question here. Councilman Ledford.
Thank you, Chairwoman Coonrod. Uncle Joe, good afternoon to you.
How are you, sir?
I'm well, sir.
Good.
Always good to see you. My question is rooted in how the program is labeled in the community. Like, for example, is this strictly kids who are identified at risk, or can anybody who's feeling like they just want to do some great things or reach out to folks? Is this, I mean, how is the program labeled?
Good question. The program is marketed and labeled as Teen Empowerment. So it's for every teen.
Everyone.
I know you know that I do work as a gang intervention, but yes, I would say most of the kids in our program are not affiliated with gangs.
Okay.
They're young people that were at the center that want to do something. This helps them not even go that way. So it's a prevention piece also. I do work with those that are involved, but the biggest percentage of my kids are not involved. There is a percentage group that are, and you know, I work with them, but I take all kids. There is no line of who you can be or who you cannot be. We all need it.
I'm glad to hear that. My second question is, do we bring in members of the community from time to time that help maybe bring light to different types of careers and even special interests or hobbies that might be of benefit and just open some doors?
Yes, that is on the agenda. This program is 1 year and 3 months old. So in my experience of doing a program, the first thing I needed to do was establish my curriculum, what we are doing, and how we're going to do it, and then I bring in outside. The program is only 3.5 hours.
Roger.
They just left school. I don't want it to be another school. I don't want it to be so structured that I would rather be at home than be up here with you. So we're not trying to turn it into a leadership, focused program. It's a program for teens to be teens, learn a little, have some fun with each other, and go home safe.
Fantastic. Thanks for providing that, that opportunity and that much-needed environment. I applaud you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Councilwoman, I'm good.
Thank you. Councilman Gilbert.
Thank you. I'm gonna call you Uncle Joe. 'Cause,
Yes, sir.
I'm bad on names anyway. It's funny how, HR had their educational thing earlier, and she made one point, it's great, is teamwork. Not just briefly talking to one another, but actually setting up programs to help one another, having a resource to help one another. When you start speaking, I think Coach, brought up last time about dealing with Howard and dealing with things in that nature, as far as giving youth opportunity to see a future. Your people, your kids that you teach, and you have opportunity to lead them towards another avenue beyond the 12th grade. So that's a good win-win situation. I'm glad that you are working with kids that not only just troubled kids, but kids that could have possibility of getting in trouble. I appreciate that, because every kid that you direct, that's one kid, less kids might not get hurt. Right. And that makes a difference. One step at a time, one thing at a time makes a difference. I do appreciate it. But again, I think all of them working together. Dr. Banks, I always talk about you. I mean, you amaze me. This young man right here, he has a bow tie on.
Yes.
He is tall. But for someone to capture gang members, just capture them, it amazed me. Because I've been in some of the programs, and I had to sit there and I watched and looked and say, how in the world this man with a bow tie on, with a suit on, is able to capture? Working as a team. What he does, what you do, what Beverly does, what Coach do, that's what it's going to take to save some of our kids. Yeah. We're not going to save all of them, but everyone we save, it's a plus. And it's a good thing for the city because it's making them a good citizen. So I really appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Any more questions? Thank you, Uncle Joe, for all the great things that you're doing with our YFD centers. I ask that each council person, if you hadn't had the opportunity to check out the work that Uncle Joe is doing, to go by those rec centers and check them out. It's everybody talk about Uncle Joe in the city of Chattanooga, and I'm just really proud that Coach got you on board here in Chattanooga from Memphis. Now, my Memphis friends mad at us because we got you, and we don't plan on returning you back to Memphis. So thank you so much for what you're doing. Thank you. Coach, you want to say something?
Thank you, Councilwoman and Chair, council members, for your support in all of our efforts.
You're welcome, Coach. Anything else? We'll adjourn to 6 o'clock. Look out.
She sent another version. I think she corrected that. I called Maria.